Hello and welcome to a new Photoshop tutorial. Andre here from PSDBox, and today I'm going to show how I made this manipulation. It's a intermediate level manipulation. I would say it's not easy, but it's not difficult to make. Anybody can do this. It's just creating a basic background and adding objects to fill in the scene. I'm gonna go step by step, so you're gonna see how I'm gonna make this. You'll have all the files needed for this on the resources folder. I'm going to show you, these are all the assets that I used to make this. And as I said, it's not really complicated. You also have the background. I offer it as a free resource on resources.psdbox.com, so you can download it from there as well if you want to. So that's the intro for this. I hope you will enjoy it, and let's get started. For this tutorial, I used many objects. Many of the objects that you see here are 3D renders from pixelsquid.com. And you'll have the files that I used, so you don't have to download them, or if you don't have, because you need a subscription on Pixel Squid, but I'm going to give you the objects that I used for this. So let's get started. Let's start as always with the background. You open this file, and this is, you'll see that it's really big. And actually what I'm gonna do is copy this file. I'm gonna go to edit and copy merge so that I have the dimensions 3000 by 1687, and I'm gonna copy this and place it over my new background. So I'm gonna resize it to fit my document here, and as you can see, it's a really big panoramic shot. I'm gonna leave it there, and this will be our floor here. Now I'm gonna create the layer mask for this. I'm gonna go a bit quick here because this is really basic and really easy to do, and that's why I would put this into an intermediate level, because you need just basic. So with the gradient tool, I'm gonna create a small gradient like that, a really simple masking. And now I'm gonna create the sky. Now I created the sky using 3 different images. I started with this one, and I'm gonna paste it underneath, and I'm gonna make it just a bit smaller and place it right over there. I wanted to use this because it was a really simple sky, and then I wanted to add some texture, so I used one of the pictures that I took myself some time ago. I'm gonna paste it on top, and again I'm gonna make it smaller to fit my document, making sure that the background is not going to show through, something like that. And I'm gonna drop the opacity of this. I'm gonna leave it on normal, and I'm gonna drop the opacity to 32%. Now I'm gonna name this Sky 2, and the first one Sky 1. Sky 1, and this one will be our floor. Now I'm gonna add yet another sky image, which is this one, this greenish one. I got it from unsplash.com. You'll find lots of great images there used for manipulations. And I'm gonna put it right over there. Now I'm gonna change the blend mode of this to multiply, and I'm gonna drop the opacity to 26 or 30%, something like that. I'm gonna leave it to 30. This is just to give some color to my image, and you can see it darkens it just a bit. Now this is our main background. Now I'm gonna add more stuff here. I took some pictures myself some time ago, a few years ago, and I got this destroyed buildings. These are from a town here in Spain was bombed during the Civil War, so I made a visit there, and I took images which I knew that someday will be useful for me. So this is one nice picture which I will use. Now I'm gonna place it right over there, somewhere there. You can see the background of this is really easy to extract. I used the magic wand tool, and just simply click the white sky. Actually I took this for an HDR picture, and I'm gonna use the overexposed image. Now I'm gonna uncheck contiguous because I want to select all the white bits here, and I think it looks nice. I'm gonna create the layer mask now. Oops, inverted. And now I'm gonna reveal the rest of the images, the rest of the layers. I'm not even gonna use the refine mask. You can do it if you want, but I'm not gonna do it. And probably move this. Oops, no, I see something here which was not extracted, so I'm gonna fix that. And next, we're gonna add more stuff there on the background. Here I use the Pixel Squid plugin, as I said. I have this extension. They have an extension for Photoshop. Maybe I have to log in now, I'm not sure. So basically what you do is go to their website, add your objects to your light boxes. You can see I have a few ones here, and you will see them here appearing. And if you want to add one, simply just click on one of the objects, download will start, and you will add it on your canvas. And the good thing about it is that you can spin them around and add them to wherever you need on your scene, on the angle that you need, and add it as a smart object, so you can modify this however you want. So that's how I added all the objects, but you have them already saved on the resources folder. So let's start adding stuff here. Let's start with sandbags, and let's put them right over here. Now I'm gonna place them right there. We'll see if I have to change the size or anything. And next, let's add our soldier. Actually, I started with the soldier when I first made this, but you can see it's not even well extracted from the background. I made it really quick. You have the original file, so you can download it, but I use the quick selection tool and just some basic brushing here and there to remove stuff. And with the brush and the layer mask, let's make the brush smaller. You can remove stuff from here, and let's say 50M60 for the brush, and remove some of the remainings over here. Anyways, we're gonna create some shadow on this, so not everything here will be visible. That's why I extracted this so badly. Let's name the soldier. So you will see that it's actually just adding stuff on this background, and that's pretty much it. That's why I said it's not going to be a difficult tutorial. I'm gonna leave my soldier right over there and probably put this a bit closer to him, about there. We'll see. And let's add the side here was too empty for me, so I added a tree. Again, I used a Pixel Squid plugin for this, but you can generate your own trees using, if you have Photoshop CC, from the filter, render, and choose tree, and choose your own kind of tree that you want. Let's leave this under the sandbags and place it right over there. Okay, so just let's quickly add all the objects around here, and then we'll see with the effects, shadows, and the rest of the stuff. Let's add the tank as well. I have destroyed the tank right over here somewhere. It looks like, oh yeah, over there. Also from Pixel Squid. Let's place it right over there. Something like that. What else? I had some street lamps. I downloaded those and placed them on my image. So basically just trying to create a sort of an urban looking scene. This one over there, you can see I have two because they have two different angles. This one is facing right and this one is facing the left side, because that makes it look more realistic if you place that over there. Let's move it under the sandbags layer. So just basically have to arrange the layers to make them look right. What else? I also had a stop sign. I think I have it here as well. You'll have everything that you need for this. So just open them and place these objects around here. Maybe probably move this a bit more towards the right, the left, and this one more towards the right, sorry. And that one there. You'll see that here is a bit different, but anyways, let's leave it there like that. What else? Let's add the barrel. there. And we still have one thing to add on the background. Just add whatever you think you should, or whatever you think you would find on a war scene like this. This was just my ideas. What else? Yeah, this nuclear, this is from a nuclear power plant, I guess. I added this under the background. This destroyed city. So above the sky, between the sky and the background there. Oops. And you have to make it smaller. And just, I don't know, I think I wanted to add more depth. That's why I made them a bit smaller. And then I duplicated that. Let's zoom in so you can see it better. And I moved it to one side, moved it under the first one, and made it slightly smaller and placed it right next to it and a bit lower. This will make it look like it's a bit more far away than the first one, than this one over here. Okay, and maybe even more separated like so. And what else? The ground, I also placed stuff on the floor because I thought it was too clean. And actually I saved the image as it is, as you can see here, as a PNG file. You'll have it like this with the shadows and everything, and you simply, if you want to use them on something else or on a different distribution, the only thing you have to do is just crop this and place them wherever you want. I made it like this because I didn't want to save a lot of small images, so just basically I'm gonna paste it there and put it right there above the tank maybe. Let's see how it looks like. Nope. Actually, the tank should be below our soldier, and the lamps, those street lamps, should be under the tank layer. Okay, and this one should be right there, like that. So just move stuff around and place things wherever you think. I'm gonna leave it there. This thing over here, I'm gonna crop it, select it like so, and layer via cut, because I want to place it around here, and it should be above our soldier over there. So as you can see, just the most time-consuming part is creating the scene itself, adding objects and stuff like that. We're almost done. The next thing that we're gonna add is this rifle, this assault rifle. This is actually modified a bit because it was too saturated and too clean. So before I saved it, as you can see it here, I darkened it a bit, desaturated, and added a few more things. So I'm gonna leave it right there. And what else? I think I have also a helmet, and I'm gonna place the helmet right here. So make it smaller, compare it to his head more or less. I think that's correct. It's okay. I'm gonna leave it right there as well. Move stuff around to where you think they look nice, and that's it. And we're pretty much done with this. Let's add the first effects. I'm gonna show you how I added the smoke and the fire there, as you can see right over here. And first, let's start with the smoke fire, with the smoke file. Yeah. It's this one over here. I'm gonna crop it, and let's locate our tank right over here and paste that over on top of the tank image. And let's make it smaller and flip it horizontally. I'm gonna drop the opacity a bit because I want to see where I place this, and I will also want to see the size. I think I'm gonna leave it that big. Now I'm not gonna use blend modes for this. Probably what you would expect is that I would use the multiply blend mode to get rid of the white sky, but in this case I'm not gonna do this. It's not a good choice, but it's gonna work a lot better if we use the blend if options. So I'm gonna double click to open the layer styles of the smoke layer, and I'm gonna move, see here on blending options, blend if, this layer. I'm gonna move this to the left until you can see the sky starts to disappear. Now I'm gonna press and hold the Alt key and move this like that too. You can see the edges to soften them. Check it out, from this to this. So about there. like so. That way we keep the texture and we keep the thickness of that smoke. Now I'm gonna create a layer mask, and with a soft brush, I'm gonna mask the sides of it, opacity and flow 100%, and use this big soft brush to get rid of stuff here, like that. And probably here I'm gonna use a smaller one. And boom, we have the smoke over there. Now, probably this lamp, I'm gonna move it slightly to the side there, like that. And now comes the fire. Let's open the fire image, which is this one. You can use other fires if you want, but I wanted this one because it has the smoke through it. So I really liked how it looked. So that's why I used it. And I think it's easier to blend smoke with another smoke image. And I'm gonna place it there. You can see it's huge. So I have to make it smaller first. How about that? I'm gonna make it smaller if I need to after that, but first let's put it there. And here I will use blend modes. Here I'm gonna use the screen blend mode. This will make the smoke go away and we'll keep the fire. And let's move with horizontal over there and place it somewhere there. You can try using the normal blend mode and do the same with the blend if, but in this case you have to use this other slider and do something like that if you want to. Actually looks pretty good. I think it looks a lot better than the blend mode. You can try both methods and see which one you like better. And again, let's create the layer mask and mask the edges like that. And probably move it around. I think I like it there. What I don't like though is this lower part of the fire. And this looks fake if I mask it like that. So I'll probably mask it entirely and just leave the fire here, or maybe crop another part of that fire and place it somewhere else here. But I'm gonna leave it just there. I think it looks pretty good, actually. And maybe with the smoke, let's try something. Let's say if the underlayer is white, the underlaying layer is white. Oh no, it's gonna affect. Yeah, because we have the sky there. Anyway, let's leave it like that. Okay, that's how I added the smoke and the fire. I also added some particles using this one you can see right over there. Actually, there's not too much fire here, as you can see, and I used this particles over there. And I just spent a bit more time finding better angles and stuff like that. That's why it looks like this. But that's the technique. So just take your time and find a good combination of angles there. Now, what else? Let's add the last element that we need here, which is that child over there. I have it already extracted. It's really easy to extract. The background is pure white, so simply use the magic wand and that's it. I'm gonna erase the shoes, but I left them here in case you want to use them. Actually, what I wanted to do, my initial idea was to place the shoes somewhere around there and the child in there, but eventually I gave up that idea and I just used the child and deleted the shoes. Now the size is important here. I don't know, try to somehow what I tried to do is, you can see the soldier, actually she's a woman. The eyes I tried to make her look at the child, and I think this size would be enough, maybe just slightly smaller like that. You can calculate the proportions a bit better. I don't know, maybe taking his leg size or this barrel, I don't know, and place him somewhere around here. And I'm gonna show you how I got rid of the white pixel here. You can see you have this. You have two options here. One, you can double click and choose inner shadow. Use multiply and use a darker color, inner shadow, and multiply. I don't know what I did here. And yeah, set distance to about 1 or 2 pixels and size to something like that, about 1 or 2. distance set to 0, sorry, and the choke to 1 or 2, and darken the stone, and you can see you can get rid of that 1 pixel edge over there. What I did instead is I created a duplicate of that, set it on multiply, and the one that is on top I'm gonna create a layer mask, and with a hard brush, a really small size, carefully start deleting this 1 pixel, or use the control click on it to create the selection, and let's delete that. Create a layer mask and use the refine edge, and maybe shift the edge a bit, increase the feather and the contrast. This will get rid of that 1 pixel, and you will see through the other one, see that, and you're not going to lose that much detail. Anyway, you can do however you want. You will need to make some touch-ups here. It's inevitable. I spent maybe, I don't know, 10 or 15 minutes to integrate the child into the background. See that, without the layer mask and with the layer mask. Spend some time on details. It's really gonna worth it. It's what sets apart your designs from others. If you rush things, you will notice it on the details. Okay, let's now that we're done with the scene itself, let's create some shadows. That's really easy. Let's create a new layer on top of the sandbags. Maybe we'll have to create several. I'm working really quickly, so maybe I will need to create different shadows. I'm gonna name shadow 1, and I'm gonna use a soft brush, opacity 30 and float 30 as well. I'm gonna also activate the transfer on pen pressure because I have the tablet, so I'm gonna increase the opacity to 50. So opacity 50, float 20, soft brush, and I checked the pen pressure, but you can use the mouse without any kind of problem. So basically I'm gonna start creating a strong shadow there on the back of the soldier, right here as well. You'll have to extract the soldier a lot better than I did, but anyways. Create a really soft shadow over there, and here as well on the barrel, supposed to cast a shadow on this. I don't really like how I made that. I'm gonna do it again. So undo and start again. Also on the barrel itself, you should add some shadow. I'm gonna control click with the move tool to select its layer, and I'm gonna add actually maybe a gradient overlay. You can use black to white and use the multiply, or use black to transparent and use a multiply as well. And I'm gonna move it about there. Probably increase the scale a bit. And that's it. I'm doing it really quick. I don't want to make this too long, but just to show you how I made this, because it's as simple as painting a few shadows and adding stuff here, but be careful on the details. Don't be lazy. And yeah, you can see here for the rifle, I have to create the shadow on top. So I have to create a new layer and name it shadow 2. Don't be scared of creating layers. A lot of people, I've seen lots of people create something and then they just select layers and merge them. And I cannot work like that. It's panicking me to see that I lost all the layers. Maybe I want to add stuff and I cannot do that because everything is merged. I think it's a lot better to group things. And nowadays, hard drive space, I know it takes a lot of space. An image with many layers and it's really high resolution, it can take more space, but nowadays it's hard drive space is not a problem. So at least that's how I think. Check the shadow of the rifle. This is how it looks like, really soft shadow. The helmet already comes with a shadow, so we don't have to create too many for that. Too many shadows on there. Probably on the soldier, on a new layer, I'm gonna create another layer which I will use to darken parts of the soldier herself. As I said, she's a woman. Right there. Okay. And now, yeah, I can use the first layer, shadow 1, to create the shadows for the child as well. Here we have to zoom in a bit more. and create some really soft shadow, hard shadow, sorry, a stronger shadow right where he touches the ground, right there. You can see I'm using really low opacities and flow. If you're using the mouse, you can use even lower, 30 and 10 maybe, and create really soft shadows. It's better to just make several passes and create the shadow that you want than creating a really strong shadow. And sometimes, well, actually lots of times, maybe most of the times, shadows should be really subtle. You can see I'm not creating something like that. It's useless. It's not realistic. Use something really subtle, just so that you can see that it's there. Okay, now let's deal with the child. Let's locate the layer. I'm gonna group things because I'm gonna add more stuff here. I'm gonna name this child. Now, for the child, we have to first let's desaturate him. Let's add a hue saturation clipped to him. And I'm gonna desaturate to maybe, let's see, -20 or -30. And now I'm gonna go to the blues because I wanna desaturate the blues a lot more, like that. Okay, and the master, probably I'm gonna leave it to -20. Now we need to darken him a bit and add some texture to make him look more dirty. For that I used this texture, and actually I used two textures. You'll find two of them. I'm gonna copy this and paste the texture right over that image, and I'm gonna clip it to the child layer. Now you can see the texture is only visible over him. Now I'm gonna change the blend mode to multiply, and you can see how it looks like. Now the texture is too big. You can tell the texture that it's too big, so we have to make it smaller. So Control T and make this smaller. Actually, we're gonna do this in two stages. The first one for the actual clothing, you can see right there. And I'm gonna create the layer mask, and with a soft brush, you can see I have the same opacity and flow. I'm gonna make several passes here and do something like this and get rid of that on the face as well. You can see that now. I'm gonna get rid of that there. You can see how it looks. He looks a bit more dirty now, and it darkens him as well. Now the other texture, I'm gonna get it from here because I forgot to save it on the resources folder, but you'll have it there. So the second texture is this one. Let's grab it and place it right over here. I'm gonna set it on normal so you can see how it looks like. It's this one, okay? So I'm gonna also delete the layer mask. This is the texture, that has second texture. I'm gonna clip it again so it's only visible over the child. And I'm gonna use the multiply blend mode as well. And check it out. Probably I have to drop the opacity a bit. See that? It adds more dirt on him. Now I'll have to add maybe some layer styles. I want to add more light on the front. I'm gonna use a gradient overlay as well. I'm gonna leave it on normal and use black and white so you can see what I'm doing, and then I'm gonna change the blend mode. I'm gonna reset the gradients, black to white, and you can see I'm gonna change the angle. So get something like this, and then increase the probably scale just a bit, you can see. And now what I want to do is this, I'm going to blend this with the multiply blend mode, or maybe actually the overlay, because if you use the multiply, what will happen is that the black side will be dark, but the white side will disappear. Essentially you will only add black, but if you also want to brighten this part, you have to use overlay, because the white will on overlay it's going to brighten stuff up. And we shifted the light a bit like so. See that? Not too much. You can see just 30%. Let's leave it on 30, and probably have to desaturate this even more. Instead of 30, let's set -40 or -35. And I'm gonna leave it like that, the child. I'm not gonna edit him too much. Probably desaturate the first texture because it's too yellow, and it's gonna change the tones of our child too much. We just need the dirt, not the not the entire color of it. You can see now it's a bit more unsaturated. Great. Now also on the smoke, as I can see there, have this bluish tone. Let's use hue saturation to desaturate the smoke as well. Great. Now we're almost done. Let's add some light effects over there on the background. Actually, I'm going to create a new layer, so you can see the child contains all of these layers. In just a few minutes we have lots of layers, but don't be scared of that. If you're organized, you can group everything into groups and maybe add colors to them, and it's not really a big deal having many layers there. Okay, let's add a new layer, and I'm gonna change this to screen. Now I want to add sort of a mist or haze or whatever you want to call it right there on the towers. I'm going to leave the opacity and float to 100%. With the shift key you can simply change the tones and the opacity there with keyboard numbers. And let's see, I'm gonna deactivate the transfer as well and make a couple of clicks there. Actually, I'm gonna sample the same tone from here and try the normal blend mode like so, and drop the opacity quite a lot. So that just add a bit of haze there. Not looking good because it's too, I don't like it. I'm gonna switch back to screen and use a lot darker tone. That's enough. And there as well. We're gonna add more light effects after. Maybe here on the tree as well, but we have, oh yeah, I'm gonna leave it there. Okay, I'm happy with how it looks like. I made it really quick, but you can see we have pretty much everything that we have here. I forgot the crow there, but you'll have it on the resources folder if you want to add it. Now let's deal with the effects and getting this look, because actually you can see we went from this to this using only adjustment layers. So let's start by adding a color fill. So let's add a color fill, solid color, and I'm gonna give you the tone that I have, the exact color tone. It's 1A110B. So I have this color on top of everything, okay? And I'm gonna change the blend mode to exclusion. This is what gives us this tone. And I'm gonna leave it on 100% opacity. I'm gonna drop it if I need to, but for now I'm gonna leave it like that. And now let's add a curves adjustment. Here we're gonna work with the RGB as well as with channels. On the RGB I have 2 points, one with input 87 and output 66, and a second point to 185 input and output 176. Okay, now I use this because I wanted to create a vignette effect actually. So I'm not gonna leave this to the entire image. I'm gonna get the elliptical marquee tool and I'm gonna create a selection like this, maybe something like that, and I'm gonna fill this with black, Alt backspace. Now what I'm gonna do now is soften this, because you can see we have this kind of a hole here. So I'm gonna double click on the layer mask and use the feather option to soften the edges of that circle that I created. As you can see it, I'm gonna go to full screen so you can see it. It was like this, and now it looks like this. If you wanna see it on full screen, Alt click the layer mask, okay? And you can see it softens it, and it's like creating a vignette effect. Check that out, okay? If you cannot soften the layer mask using the feather option because you don't have it, maybe you're using an older version of Photoshop, what you can do is apply Gaussian blur with this radius size, 140 pixels or something like that, and this will soften the layer mask. Now let's go back into the curves and go to the blue channel, and here I have this bottom left point to 0 and output 15, and the top one to 255 and output to 36. This will create split tone effect, essentially adding blue on darks and yellow on the highlights. Let's increase the brightness of my screen and let's move on, and we have more adjustments. First, a color lookup. a color lookup, and I forgot to add some other adjustments, but anyways, let's continue. Color lookup, and this time I used my favorite one, which is the DK79. You'll have it on the resources folder. The only thing you have to do is go here, choose load 3D LUT, and look for this file on the resources folder called DK79. If you want to have it here on this list, you'll have to save it on the presets folder. You'll find where have installed Photoshop, look for the presets folder, and inside of that you'll find one called 3D LUTs, and just paste it there and you'll have it here on this list. Okay, here I have the opacity to 10% and the blend mode set to normal. Now I forgot to add some adjustments below, so before I added this color fill, under it I'm going to add a gradient map, and I used black and white for this, black white, and set the opacity to 25% and left the normal blend mode. And then I used the color lookup on top of it, color lookup, and I used a preset that I created myself called PSD Box Soft 2. Let's see if I can find it. All of this I created myself, all of these adjustments. Soft 2, let's see where it is. And you can do the same, just load 3D LUT and look for this file, Soft 2. I have a tutorial showing how to create these presets yourself. You can create them in Photoshop. And I'm gonna leave it to normal at 50%. And now another curves adjustment on top of this, curves, so right over here. So so before I added that color fill, I forgot to add these 3 adjustments, but anyways. So let's start with the blue channel. Here I worked with channels, and I have one point here with input 113, and then another point with actually this one over here, input 255 and output 247. Actually the one that I placed here, because you can see it has the same input and output, basically I just pinned down these tones from here down because I didn't want to get affected by this. Okay, somewhere there. On the green channel we have one point with input 82 and output input 84 and output 82, and a second point with input 185 and output 186. Okay, and then on the red channel we have 2 points, one with input 107 and input as 107 as well, and then a second point with input 205 and output 202. So that's how I got these tones with these adjustments. Okay, let me group everything so you can see it before and after. I want to have this sort of a cinematic look, and I also used some dodging and burning, which I did not show you here, but just to darken the face of the child a bit and some other stuff around here. But basically that's how I created this look. And then I used camera raw. I'm gonna give you the settings. I'm gonna create a stamp, Shift Alt Command E to create merge everything onto a new layer. And now I'm going to use camera raw as a filter. If you don't have Photoshop CC, you will not be able to do this. So what you'll have to do is go to File, choose Save As, and you're gonna want to save this as a TIFF image. So just go here, choose TIFF file. I'm gonna deactivate layer. I'm gonna save it as a copy, and I'm gonna save it. And here I'm gonna leave everything as it is. I'm gonna choose OK. And I'm gonna open that TIFF file again. And by default, you can see it opens it in camera raw, and you can make the adjustments that I'm gonna do next. I have Photoshop CC, so I can use it as a filter. That's an advantage. It's a bit quicker. but you can do it with a TIFF file as well. So let's go to filter and choose camera raw. And once you're here in camera raw, I'm going to give you the settings that I have. You can use others, and even for myself, we're not going to work the same. I'm not going to give the same exact look as on the original, because on the original I have other lighting setups and stuff like that, but I'm going to get a similar result. Now, tint, well, the temperature, I have it to, tint to 1. Actually, I can see it's pretty magenta looking, so I'm gonna actually add -2. What else? Contrast 7. So contrast 7. Shadows 3. I didn't change the highlights. Blacks 3 as well. Whites, I did not touch them. Clarity 8. Vibrance 16. Saturation 13. Now, let's go to the next adjustment, which is the HSL. Now here you can change the hue of the tone, the tone of your colors, saturation, you can desaturate selectively, or the luminance, okay? I'm gonna give you the values that I have. So for the hue, I just changed reds, yet oranges and yellows. On the hue tab, reds 0, oranges -11, everything left to default. Saturation -23 for the reds, orange -17, and yellows -16. Luminance, reds 0, oranges -19, and yellows 9. And that's all that I did here on the HSL. Split tone, on highlights, I have hue 57 and saturation 5, and shadows 222 and 2 for saturation, and left the balance to 0, I think. What else? FX. Let's go into FX, and here I added some vignette. Amount -13, midpoint 11, roundness 46, and feather 100. So we added some vignette effect, which makes things focus light here on the center. And here on camera calibration, I also changed the tones a bit. On the shadows, I have 53, so I went towards magenta. Red primary 8 and saturation 27. Green primary 33 and saturation 21. And blue primary -6. Of course, this is really up to you how you change the colors over here. That's really up to you. I'm gonna leave it like that and click OK. And I'm gonna show you the result before and after camera raw. So before camera raw and after. Actually, just added some vignette. I should have desaturated maybe the tree a bit there, but you can see how you can go from this to this without any kind of adjustments and with the adjustments. And that's all. That's how I did. I think on top I added another color lookup. I'm not sure. Probably here I add this one, the DK79, and set it to 10%. Yeah, this gives it that warmish tone. Or maybe you can use the edgy amber and drop the opacity quite a lot, and this will give you this. Or maybe try on lighten, and you'll have more light on your image. But anyways, that's how I created this. I hope you enjoyed it. You can follow me on YouTube and Instagram or Facebook if you want as well. You can use the hashtag PSDBox for your artworks if you want me to see them. You can also contact me through the social networks or using the contact form on the website. Until next time, this is Andrei from PSDBox. Take care and happy photoshopping.